Welcome to the Web Show on American Sports Network. I'm Matt Lincoln. Every program in the ASN family of schools has a long list of unforgettable moments that have helped shape the culture on each campus. What we're doing here at ASN is choosing what is the biggest moment at each of our 168 schools. How do we choose them? Well, we'll tell you about that later. We've already unveiled the first 84 in alphabetical order. If you missed them right now, you can watch them all on AmericanSportsNet.com. But without further ado, here are the next 42 moments in alphabetical order. Starting with McNeese State, largest FCS win ever against an FBS team when they throttled South Florida 53-21 in 2013. The unforgettable goalie tandem of Tony Esposito and Rick Best helped the 1965 Michigan Tech hockey team win it all. Also in this group of our school's greatest moments, Minnesota Duluth finally won their first hockey championship in 2011. In that same year, Kenneth Farid and Morehead State knocked off Louisville in the first round of the NCAA tournament. A huge battle in the Volunteer State in 1996, Memphis knocked off Tennessee's favorite son, Peyton Manning and the Vols 21-17. Tigers were 26-point underdogs in just 4-7. But they beat the 6th-ranked team in the country despite just 83 yards of offense. Moving on, the Admiral David Robinson helped Navy as a 13-seed blow out 4th-seed LSU by 23 points in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And YES for UNO, the Privateers became the first team from the state of Louisiana to make it to the College World Series in 1983. Next, the 2004 UNC Greensboro men's soccer team climbed all the way to #1 in the country, first time ever as D1 school. And at Northeastern, one of the most important hockey arenas in the country, the Old Ice House in Boston was first built back in 1910. Next, Northern Michigan blew a late 3-goal lead against BU in the 1991 hockey championship, but came back to win in extra time. And Old Dominion has one of the best women's basketball programs in the country and really got off the ground with back-to-back national championships in 1979 and 1980 in the Association for Intercollegiate Athletics for Women. And in the 1979 Final Four, always would be remembered for Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird, but Penn crashed the party. The Quakers won their 8th Ivy League championship in 10 years, and in the tournament, check out these coaches Penn beat to get to the national semifinals. Jim Valvano, Dean Smith, Jim Boeheim, and Lou Carnesecca until Magic and Michigan State knocked them out. 6 more, the unforgettable championship for Providence taking the hockey title last year. And Tyson Wheeler, Catino Mobley, and URI knocked off Paul Pierce, Rafe LaFrentz, and the Kansas Jayhawks en route to the 1998 Elite Eight. To read more about all these moments, just check out AmericanSportsNet.com.
You can keep the Supreme Court. In sports, we have a different approach. And bow to a higher court. I'm that higher court. I'm the judge.
Yes, one man chose all of these moments, so please direct all your phone calls and emails to him. The judge, Mike Bambach.
Matt, we're in session. You may proceed.
All right, Your Honor, we'll move along. The 6th biggest moment, we're going to talk about the 6 moments that you chose above all else here, and we will start with number 6. Of all the greatest moments from this group, this is a fun one of the wildest customs in college hockey. The fish that gets thrown onto the ice at UNH during hockey games. Judge, how did this get started?
It started in the mid-1970s with a frat boy throwing out a fish after UNH scored its first goal. They've been doing it ever since. And here's a funny story about how sometimes it can go awry. They once tried to throw a fish on the ice at Yale, but hit the coach in the face, the Yale coach in the face instead. And that is how the coach, who was nicknamed the Godfather, became known as the Codfather. True story.
I also found it funny that the fish just sits in the hallway of the frat house the night before the game. Yeah. Now, of course, the 12th man refers to the fans in the stands, but in the 1954 Cotton Bowl, the 12th man was an Alabama player. But despite Tommy Lewis jumping off the bench to tackle Rice running back Dickie Magel, Rice still won the game. Judge, this is a legend that you could forget actually happened, but for Rice, it's a memory that really can't be forgotten.
Right. Magel was given a 95-yard touchdown run after that tackle. The guy who made the tackle, Tommy Lewis, said, "I'll probably be hearing about this for the rest of my life." So, Mr. Lewis, if your ears are burning right now, you know why.
I wonder if Mike Tomlin's watched tape of that game. Number 4, when in sports as the nickname for one player became the nickname for a school or vice versa. Anyway, in the late 60s, North Texas was known as the Eagles, but they had a do-it-all defensive player named Joe Green, and soon after the Eagles became no more. How great was Mean Joe Green, Judge, and how did this all shake out?
Well, Mean Joe anchored the defensive line that led the nation in rushing defense. And we will never know for sure which came first, the team's nickname or his nickname. What we do know for sure is Steelers fans, when he was drafted by the Steelers, Steelers fans thought Mean Green was Joe Green's nickname, hence Mean Joe Green.
That's certainly one of the best players, and certainly North Texas will be remembered for him. How about this for an incredible game? 20 strikeouts, that's nothing. In 1971, Miami of Ohio's Buddy Schultz struck out 26 batters in a game. Judge, where does this rank among the best pitching performances ever?
Well, his 26 strikeouts are an NCAA record. Neil Heaton and Steven Strasburg, who've gone on to major league careers, came closest with 23, but no one's come close to 26 in a 27-out game. And Matt, I have looked at every book behind me, and I cannot tell you what the 27th out of that game was, unfortunately.
Keep looking, Judge. You'll find it eventually. Number 2, Richmond Spiders, known as Cinderella Darlings. That reputation was born in 1991 when U of R became the first 15 seed to knock off a 2 seed, beating Jim Boeheim in Syracuse. Lots of our schools have NCAA basketball tournament upsets as their top moments. But Judge, why is this one so special?
Well, it was the first time a 15 seed won in the NCAA tournament, and they redefined March Madness. 7 teams since have gone on, 7 number 15 seeds have gone on since to win in the tournament, including Middle Tennessee this year, which we mentioned earlier. But I do understand, Matt, and if you want to explain this, we'd love to hear it, that this was not necessarily your greatest moment.
Oh, Judge, that's a low blow. Yeah. Well, you know, it's certainly a memory for Syracuse fans and alums as well, as Jim Boeheim for a long time was known as a guy who couldn't lead his team all the way, and that's thankfully changed since. But that reputation hung on Syracuse for a long time too, as much as it hung with Richmond for being a team that was a Cinderella darling. Anyway,
well, you would go on to greater moments.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Let's go to number 1, and let's go way back, 1869, the first ever college football game. Let's put football in quotes here, between Princeton and Rutgers. Rutgers won the game, chased Princeton off the field, but it's what got it all started. Judge, what did football look like in 1869?
It looked a lot like modern rugby. The players were not allowed to advance the ball with their hands, but they could knock the ball down. The goal was to kick the ball across into the net, so it was sort of like soccer and rugby. But it did involve tackling and scrums and some of what you see today in rugby. What's interesting about this, it really did kick off our obsession with college football pretty quickly. So Rutgers beats Princeton in that game. Princeton wins the rematch. There was going to be a third game scheduled, but football had become such a preoccupation at both campuses that they canceled it because they didn't want to distract the students from, the primary goal of getting an education. Can you imagine football taking precedence over education?
Oh, I was going to say, little did they know that 150 years later, we all become obsessed with it, and it would all keep us from actually going to class.
Yeah, footnote on that. There were a couple hundred fans at the game. Well, last year, 44 million people attended Division I football games. There are 253 Division I football teams, millions more watched on TV. It's a multi-billion-dollar business with very, very humble beginnings.
Yeah, just a
obviously.
Bunch of drunk guys in New Jersey getting out there and kicking a ball around.
Exactly.
All right, Judge, once again, impeccable job. Thank you so much for joining us.
We're adjourned. Thank you, Matt.
And thank you for watching the web show. Remember, you can find more about the moments referenced today by going to AmericanSportsNet.com. Just type your favorite school's name in the search box on the right-hand side of the screen. I'm Matt Lincoln. Thanks for watching.